back to the Mike Vogiatzakis show on this special edition of this Thursday night. We have an excellent show all ready to go for you tonight. There's a lot to discuss as Mike has obviously spent a lot of time in court today. And then that was this morning early, and then this afternoon Mike had to handle another situation that I know he really wants to talk about tonight, which is tragic to say the least. We're going to fill you in on all that and more. It's all coming up right here on the Mike Vogiatzakis show right after this.
At ASAP Auto Glass Winnipeg, we know you need it repaired fast. That's why we do all the work. From contacting AutoPack and starting your claim to replacing that broken windshield, we make sure your visit is carefree with quality service you know and love. From automotive to industrial, we replace and repair. From cars, trucks, and SUVs to industrial glass, we get the job done right the first time. At ASAPAutoglass.com, our website has all the answers you're looking for when repairing or replacing your automotive glass. Winnipeg Auto Glass Repair is ASAP Auto Glass. Experts and fast. Book your appointment today.
Welcome back to the show tonight, a special edition of the Mike Vogiatzakis show. Proud to have Mike with me tonight. I know it's been a real tough day for you, Mike. Challenging on all levels. First off, you went to court this morning. You had to deal with your brother's convicted murderer. A tough day sentence-wise. How do you feel about everything and how it went today after we talked last night, buddy?
You know, it was a tough day today, and tough to hear the decision, and trying to put everything all together, and finally realizing that this part is over. The judge has reached a verdict. We may not all agree with it, but the bottom line is he got 7 years, and he's already. Here's what I have a problem with: he's already served 3.5 years of his sentence, so he's only going to serve another 3.5 years. And I think this credit system they have, 1.5 days for every day that you sit in the remand center or Headley, is kind of crazy. So really, at the end of the day, he only spends 3.5 years in Stony Mountain Penitentiary. And a lot of people don't seem to be happy on that when you look at the comments on the internet. And for me, I'm happy we finally got some closure. I respect the judge's decision. I guess what people need to understand, and I had to understand the same thing, is his killer, Curtis, was not charged with murder. He was charged with manslaughter, which gives you a less sentence. Our lawyers of the Crown asked for 10 years. They got 7. His lawyers asked that he would probably just go home and be on house arrest. So it could have went either way, and when you're in a court, you never know what the judge is going to decide and what evidence shows and how the evidence is produced. But listening to her verdict, I thought she was a really good judge. She used a lot of common sense, and I think she did the right thing. Again, I don't agree with the credit part, but it is what it is. That's what the Canadian law is.
I got to be honest, Mike. Hearing everything that's gone on, typical murders.
Oh, sorry,
trial
Brad.
Go ahead.
2.5 years. That's what he's going to do in jail. I said 3.5. So he's only going to do 2.5 years in jail, which is terrible.
Yeah, it's horrible, Mike. Typical murders in the States get 20 years, 25, sometimes to life. This was considered manslaughter in this situation. That changes the dynamic of everything in terms of murder and a sentence for murder. But 7 years, 3.5 served, 2.5 to go. Well, 3.5 to go, Mike. 3.5 and 3.5 makes 7.
Yeah, I thought it was 3.5. Sharon just came up and said it was 7. But either way, he's going to the penitentiary. And I guess what I was happy with at the end of it all was that he was going to get 2 years plus a day. So 2 years plus a day means that he goes to Stony Mountain. 2 years less a day means he would have went to Headley Correction Center where has been held
Well,
said,
I just wanted to ask you, what home? Home or house arrest? Stay at home? What home? The
so
guy's
what
living in a halfway house next to the
what the
restaurant.
his lawyers asked was, they presented to the judge that he should be staying at his mother's house, his mother and father's house in Morden, I believe it is, and that would have been house arrest. That's what they were asking. So, you know, if you look at the difference, the lawyer representing Kyriakis, the Crown, said 10 years. His lawyer wanted house arrest at the least, and I mean, I'm kind of glad that house arrest wasn't what they decided, because that would have been a very bad thing. And it's tough. You know, it's been a roller coaster ride. January 24th, 2024 is when he was murdered. You know, there's a lot of pressure when you're going into the courts, and it's long, it's lengthy. Watching a mom go through that process is just devastating, and the rest of the family being dragged through that court system, and it hurts. There's a lot of pain involved. For me, it kind of brought a little bit of a closure today. Today's decision brought kind of mixed emotions for me. Relief that the court process has finally reached a stage. Sadness. I mean, there was lots of sadness. There was, you'll never bring Kyriakis back, and this today is about Kyriakis, and you know, the frustration the family feels will never go away. The pain will never go away, but we need to realize that the legal system has a process, and it's very different than what our thoughts are.
Mike, we've had a lot of people chiming in tonight on the comments section. You might not be paying attention at this point, and that's okay. Gord was here first. Steve Beige was next. Debbie Lammer is here. Gloria is here tonight. Beautiful rainbow outside this evening. A sign of good luck. A good evening from Transcona, from Sharon Tietzma, as well as Janelle Lang is saying, good evening, you fine people. Debbie Lamoureux and a bunch more. Debbie's got a comment here that says the law is BS. You know what BS stands for. Let's see, Dominic Garcia's here tonight. I don't think Brad's mic is working. My mic isn't working. Uh-oh.
You've been talking all that time and your mic's not working?
Brad's volume is low tonight, so I've got my low levels cranked up. I'm not sure what's going on now.
So as Brad's talking, I just want to thank Gloria, who's been to every part of this trial and has spent every single day there. Today she rode her bike there in the rain. So Gloria, thank you for being there and supporting our family through this whole process. It's been a roller coaster ride, as you know, because you've been there with us.
How's my mic now? Hopefully it's a little better. We'll see if that did the trick or not. Okay, so Mike, let me ask you a question now about the judicial system for a second, because a lot of people might not understand how that works. So he's going to jail. He probably should have got more years for that. Obviously, this is a different time frame than the 80s or the 70s. And somebody back then would have got a lot longer sentence and a lot lengthier sentence, even for manslaughter. The judge comes to their decision, but is the decision really guided on a local level, or is it guided on a federal level, Mike?
I think it's on a federal level, where they go back to case law and they bring up other case law from other cases that have been in front of judges right across Canada. So it's a procedure. It's not a judge just making a decision. It's a judge going and checking other case law, and case law was brought up in court on other sentences that people were sentenced for murder, and the type of murder that was committed against my brother. Is the sentence fair? I don't think so. Like I said, don't understand the custody credit parts. Does the sentence reflect the value of a life lost? Absolutely not. Are victims' families given enough consideration and justice? I would have to say no, they're not. So I don't think the justice system is fair in the way they do things. A family suffers a lifetime of pain and suffering and grief that doesn't go away. Should there be changes on how the sentencing takes place? I think so. The impact on on a mother, on a son, on a brother, is carried deeply forever. It's an emotional impact that goes far beyond the courtroom. No court ruling can restore what was actually taken away. So at the same time, we got to respect the court process. The judge did have to apply Canadian law. Courts must follow sentencing principles and legal precedent. And people may agree or disagree with the outcome. And I saw online today that a lot of people, disagreed with what went on. To discuss the sentencing and decisions respectfully is something the public can do and give their input and how they feel and question the judge's decision and question the court's decisions. And I know a lot of people are upset about the sentencing, and I looked on Facebook today and I saw people very angry saying, hey, he deserved life, he took a life, he deserved more than what he got. So I don't think the justice system really balances the family's rights versus the victim's rights. And I really think they should go back and do something with this point system that they have. How fair is it that you get credited for taking a life? 1.5 days credit for every day that you sit in jail. And to me, that's disturbing right there. So what I think should have happened is he should have been served the 7 years that he got sentenced to. And I think that would have been the right thing. So there's a lot of good things that came out of this. And the good thing is that he's in jail and he's not back on the street like he was before. He, as Gloria saw yesterday and whoever else was in the courtroom, he had a long history of catch and release. Our system is 100% broken. He was on his catch and release program for a good 20 years. And every time they would catch him, he would resist arrest. He would be violent. He continued to be violent when he was serving some time in jail, violent against his cellmates, violent against the people that worked the jails. So this guy is a criminal with a bad history, and justice has been served as far as he's not back out on the street again. We got to be thankful for that.
Absolutely, Mike. Absolutely. And how did your mom take things today? That's what I'm concerned about. Mom was obviously broken over all of this, and it's been a trying couple of years to this point. Today's the day after, or the day of, and obviously just even 10 minutes after. I mean, I'm sure that the tears are just continuing to fall, and hopefully things get better for her. But how's she doing tonight, Mike?
Today was a rough day for my mom. I haven't seen her really break down and cry like she did today after the sentencing. And, for her, the sentencing didn't mean anything. It doesn't bring Kyriakis back. It still brings an empty chair at a dinner table, an empty chair on birthdays. And my mom was broken. And I guess I said this in the courtroom when I read my impact statement, and so was my mom's impact statement, which said, you never realize the pain of losing a son unless you're a mother. And that says it all. A mother's pain, nobody can describe it unless you're a mom who's actually lost a son or a daughter to a murder. And the other part, Brad, is, you could lose somebody to cancer or to, heart disease or to a sickness where you have your chance to say goodbye. You have a chance to be with that family member, hug them, share stories, share feelings, ask for forgiveness. In a case where somebody's murdered, all that's taken away from you. There is no goodbyes. There is no time that you spend with that family member to give them one last hug. So they take so much away from you when they murder someone. And it's a different kind of death. It's not the same death as somebody being sick and going through that process, and you're expecting that person to pass away.
Diane wants to know, she just joined the show tonight, how many did he get? Well, Diane, he got 7, but he's already served 3.5, so he has 3.5 left to go just to catch you up. It's a joke, to say the least. Mike, you got a big family. All Greek families seem to have, 4 or 5 kids in them, 3 or 4 or 5. They have grandkids. They have their own kids, and then they have grandparents of grandkids, and the list goes on and on and on. And now the grandkids are old enough to have their own kids, so it's great grandkids for somebody like your mom, right? So
Right?
Let me
Yeah.
ask you a question here. The whole family's been affected, not just you and your wife and your son, but also your mom and now your brothers too. You've got a couple of brothers that are, strong and very, I'll say, confident individuals that I'm sure that they're dealing with some of the same situations that you and your mom are dealing with today and have been for the last couple of years. So how are they taking things?
My brothers are hurting just as much as the rest of us. They lost a brother, a friend. Kyriakis was a really special guy. You had
Yeah.
to know him, you had to meet him to love him, and he was the kind of guy who would give his shirt off his back to help you. And even when he had nothing, he would still give whatever he had. And I want to bring up a point. I don't know if you knew this, but his killer, Kyriakis, actually invited him into the restaurant at one point and fed him because Curtis said he was hungry. And Kyriakis said, "Come on in, order whatever you want off the menu. I'll pay for it." Kyriakis had that kind of heart, a heart of gold, where he didn't want to see anyone hungry. He didn't want to see anyone hurting, homeless, or any of that kind of stuff. And that's the kind of life they've taken. Um, they robbed him of his life. They robbed him of his dreams. And how do you deal with that? I've been the spokesperson for the family and the one who's been in the news and on the cameras, but it doesn't mean the rest of my family is not hurting or feeling the pain. I just had the job as the eldest child to get in front of the cameras and talk and keep people up to date. And through this, we still accomplished something, and we fought back against the justice system. And you can't say this was a waste of time because we did get a sentence, and Curtis is going to jail. And the bottom line is maybe this will be a setting precedence for the courts to take this legal system seriously because their decisions affect our streets. They affect our kids. They affect Winnipeg in general. And every time you release a criminal back on the streets, it causes chaos in our neighborhoods, chaos in our streets. And if we could fight back against the justice system and say, hey, we're not going to take this anymore. It's not fair. It's not only our family, Brad. It's thousands of families that are going through terrible grief because of the loss of loved ones, because of the violence, the drugs, the mental illness, everything that's going on, out on our streets. And we need to be better. And this is a learning curve. And this is telling you that I'm not going away. I'm just getting started. And, I have a lot of plans after this, but this is about Kyriakis today, about the kind of person he was and the terrible way he left this life.
So it starts out that way today. You get to lunchtime. Lunchtime rolls around. I'm sure you had a family little bit of a luncheon there to talk about things. What time was the trial? The trial at this morning? 10 o'clock? 9 o'clock?
So 9 o'clock in the morning, we were in the courtroom. By 10 o'clock, the decision was made,
Right.
and we, those that was it. That's it. The thing is, it's final. You're in that courtroom. The judge says what she says. She gives the reasons why she's made her decision. And I got to tell you something. As much as maybe we don't agree completely with that 3.5 years, the judge was a good judge, and I had a lot of respect for her. She was very compassionate, caring, and understanding, and I think she did her job, and I think justice was served today, as far as the sentence went, and uh, that's what made me happy. That's what brought me peace. Uh, Again, nothing's going to bring Kyriakis back. He's gone, and no matter what the judge does, no matter what the sentence is, uh, my brother's gone.
Yeah. So then you get basically you get to lunchtime, and then all of a sudden you get another call, and the afternoon starts, and the afternoon's just as hard as the morning, and again, just one of those tough days that I guess our generation seems to be going through a lot of death these days. A lot of people that were born, say, in 65 to 70, 1965 to 1970 is what I'm talking about. They all seem to be right in that same spot these days. Parents passing away, uncles and aunties passing away, but nobody ever expects a murder or something that like what happened today. And again, the day starts out tough, and it gets tougher for somebody like you that owns a business, owns 5 funeral homes, and employs a number of people. I've been one of them, and enjoyed my time working with you. But that's a tough job, and I've sat in those shoes, and I know exactly what became of me after, and it was an eye opener for me to work for you, Mike. It really was, and I learned a lot of stuff. What I learned most was compassion. I learned that the regrets that you have, you need to somehow deal with. You should go back and try to make amends if you can. And that's, I guess, the compassion and forgiveness that comes from seeing that many funerals. Some people, though, have a harder time with that, Mike, and some people have a really challenging time with working that business. You're a super strong man, and I know that, and a lot of people are going to understand that here tonight because of the fact that, what you've been through today alone is something that makes us all say, huh, what's going on here? How is it that this is happening to me? And Mike, it is happening to you, and I don't know why it's happening to you or how it happened to you today, but you got a call this afternoon, and the next thing you know, you're out and you're dealing with another death, and it's almost instantaneous after, kind of putting closure on your brother's situation. So take us through the afternoon now. I'm sorry I'm asking you these tough questions, and you do want to talk about this tonight, right, Mike?
Yeah, after court, which was a tough time, I went out with my mom and my wife and my son, and we had some breakfast together and talked about the day. As I went on with my day, I had a meeting with my team for the mayor run, and then I had an appointment with a lawyer. And as I was sitting in the lawyer's office, I got this panicking call from our office, and I'm talking, my phone kept ringing and ringing and ringing. And I finally picked up the phone and I said, "Hey, I'm in a meeting." And they said, "You have an emergency to tend to. You need to take this call." And I found out that this afternoon, one of my employees who works at the funeral home, who I respect and love and care for very much, took his life today. So I had to go to the house and with the medical examiner's office, his body, his family, and I had to talk with his family who lives out of town. So, a really tough day. And what do you do? What do you do when things like that happen? I mean, if you're working in the funeral industry is a tough industry to work in. It takes a special person to deal with death on a daily basis. The things you see, the things you deal with, the things you hear, the family drama, all the things a funeral director does on the average day. So to add to my brother's devastating loss, boom, part two hit right when I got home, and I thought everything was over with.
So, Mike, a lot of people are asking if it was Mike McIver.
No,
it was not. So there you go, folks. It
no,
was
I don't.
not Mike
I'm not
McIver.
gonna mention the employee's name. Let's just say he was a really good guy, a really good friend of mine. We spent a lot of time talking, and I was pretty devastated to hear the news today that he ended his life. And it's going to be sad not seeing him around the funeral home, and I'm going to miss our conversations together. And I'm going to be praying for him and his family tonight.
Are you handling his arrangements, Mike?
Absolutely, 100%. And just like anyone that I know and care for and love passionately, I take on those arrangements myself, whether it has to be, embalming the body or doing the cremation or making funeral arrangements with the family. That's something I take pride in, and a lot of care and compassion in helping a family through that, especially a family that's been a part of our family.
Well, I've stood in that man's shoes, and I know exactly what he was dealing with. Was he a licensed funeral director, though, Mike?
No, he was a casual worker helping at the funeral home, doing everything from driving a vehicle, a limousine, a hearse, helping on funeral services.
Sort of like what I did, right?
Yeah, the sort of thing that you did, yeah. And, you really enjoyed it, but behind the scenes, you really don't know what somebody's going through. And I tell people this all the time, that the tongue is sharper than a sword, and sometimes you say things you don't mean, and they really affect people in a different way. So, that was my day today. But back to the sentencing and back to Kyriakis. Today was a win-win. For 2.5 years, I've been fighting for you for a better justice system, to stop the catch and release, to make sure that we can voice our opinions and our voices, letting the system know that we're not happy. We need to make it clear that the streets are very unsafe when they keep allowing criminals out the doors and back on the streets, hours after they've been arrested. And you need to have consequences for the crimes that you commit. And those consequences can't be that you're left back out on the streets to violate another family, to rob another business, to make somebody's life miserable because you can. So I think we need to get tougher on laws. We need to get tougher on the bail system, on bail reform. We need to get tougher on catch and release. And we need to come together as a city, as a community, and say, look, enough's enough. And I'm hoping that Kyriakis' case has set sort of a precedent, a movement to stop this catch and release program, a movement to let the judges know how we feel and the hurt a family goes through when you allow a criminal back on the streets on a promise to appear, and he never does appear, and the only time that he does appear is upon murdering somebody like Kyriakis. And I think we all believe the same thing. And one thing that I'm going to do running for mayor is, and I know a lot of people are going to say this, and I'm going to say the opposite to you. A lot of people say, oh, Mike, it's a federal issue. It's a provincial issue. There's nothing you could do about it. Let me tell you, you're wrong. The mayor has a voice, a very, very powerful voice. He's the only voice in the city that can be heard, that can be loud, that can be clear, and that will be your voice through me. And I'm going to make sure that the justice system knows that we've had enough. We want our city back. We want our streets back. And we want you to pay attention. We want you to stop releasing these criminals back on the streets. What's the solution? Build more jails. Take empty buildings and convert them to jails. Don't use the excuse that we don't have money. Our Canadian government's been giving away millions and millions and millions of dollars, billions of dollars to other countries. Let's take care of Canadians first. Let's take care of the people in Manitoba. Let's make our streets safer, cleaner, and friendlier. And that's what we need to do. So this has only motivated me to make more change. Kyriakis' memory will live on through my voice and through the change that we will make in the city. So I hope the day comes that I will be sitting in the mayor's chair making powerful decisions on your behalf.
Well, we all hope that too, Mike. There's a lot of followers online that are definitely in your corner, backing you, getting ready to put that checkmark V in. I love that. That's a nice little touch to your logo there, that checkmark V. Show some people that one right there. Is it down at the bottom? Mike, what happens tomorrow? Go to bed tonight, wake up tonight. What happens? Do you sleep tonight? Don't you sleep tonight?
Hey, it's been tough for me as, the big brother and, having to deal with the majority of the issues. As you guys know, I ran the Cork and Flame restaurant for a year and a half because I wanted to keep Kyriakis' legacy alive. I wanted to keep his restaurant alive, the one he built, the one he cared for, the one he loved. And I did that for a year and a half. I'm determined to keep Kyriakis' name alive. I'm determined to make change in his name, and nothing is going to stop me. And when I wake up tomorrow morning, I'm going to have more energy. I'm going to have more drive, and I'm going to want to make more change. And when I release my platform for mayor, and this really isn't about running for mayor right now. It's more about Kyriakis and what he did for this world and how he motivated people and how he cared about people. And Kyriakis would say one thing to my mom all the time: "Mom, be positive. Don't be negative." And he was a real big guy on that. Mike, he said, read the law of attraction. Mike, you got to be positive. And when the world was coming down on Kyriakis' back, somehow he was able to lift it off. Somehow he was able to move ahead. And if you don't know my brother, some of you may know that he ran the River Rouge, which is a boat that goes up and down the rivers. And he took on that project. And one day, the city of Winnipeg took his docks away. And that ended that project, and that broke his heart. And it took away something. You look at the Human Rights Museum in Winnipeg, and you look at the riverboats in Winnipeg that are all gone. Well, the riverboats kind of did the same thing. It was history in Winnipeg. Those riverboats going up and down the back lane of the city, something you don't see too often. But you got to see that through the River Rouge. And if you remember the Rocket River cruises and the graduations and all those times you got to spend on the boat, and that was part of Kyriakis. And he took over Roadshow Sound from me and Midnight Sound and ran the music companies. And he did so much. And when life brings you down, most people give up. When life brought Kyriakis down, he put boxing gloves on and kept fighting. And when he got to the Cork and Flame, he made that Cork and Flame, as he would say, my baby. And he worked hard to build his baby and to love it and treat his staff fair. And, Kyriakis was the kind of guy that a customer would walk in, like, let's just use you, for example, Brad. He'd walk up to you and go, Brad, your hair looks really good. And if you lost weight, and I love that tie. And that's what people loved about Kyriakis. He had so much energy, just raw energy, and he'd always make you laugh. And he had this big, huge smile. And when you could be mad at him and you could not be mad at him, he would just smile at you and it would all go away. He had a way of making you melt. And the little old ladies that would walk into Cork and Flame, he would touch their cheeks and say, oh my God, who did your hair today? Your hair looks so good. And I love your makeup. And he'd go sit at people's tables and spend time with them and show that he cared, and he'd ask how the food was, and he'd bring out free desserts to people. He was a guy that just brought so much to life. And I remember having a conversation one time about, Kyriakis, I think I want to run for mayor. And why do you want to do that? Why do you want to do that? Just, you're a good funeral director. Just do what you do. But, he motivated people in so many different ways. So tomorrow morning, Brad, answering your question, I'm going to get up. I'm going to be more motivated. I'm going to try to make more change. I'm going to try and clean up our streets. I'm going to try and make these neighborhoods safer for your kids and for your families. And I'm going to be what Kyriakis wanted me to be: motivated, full of energy, and caring about people and putting people first.
Yeah, Mike. Tomorrow, Monica Petkow said it best. Tomorrow, hopefully a brighter day, right? Hopefully a brighter day tomorrow. And
you know what I say today? Today is a gift and tomorrow's never promised.
Well, there's that too, Mike. But I don't anticipate you going anywhere tonight or in the next 12 or 24 hours. I anticipate you being stronger than ever now and being a real force and a force to be reckoned with when it comes to this mayoral run. I know that a lot of people are counting on you to continue this fight, not to back off. If you need help, those people are there to help you, and they're ready to get out in the community and get that support generated for you. So, we see other mayoral candidates walking around the city trying to do some videos here and there, talking out in front of the ledge and going out in front of the Human Rights Museum. Well, I'm kind of glad you're not doing all that kind of nonsense. And the reason is because it kind of makes them look as though they're just talking to talk. There's no real emotion there. It's not guided by truth and honesty and real feelings. It's written down, it's scripted, it's executed, and it's well delivered to make a final message, but it lacks sincerity, it lacks emotion, it lacks a whole bunch of things. So look, what you're doing, I think, is quintessential to you becoming mayor, letting people see who the real Mike Vogiatzakis is. I think we should argue more so that they see how feisty you can be too, because I tell you what, if there's somebody that I'm not intimidated by him, but yeah, I'm intimidated by him. He could probably kick my you-know-what. I know he's a tough SOB, and I tell you what, he's going to bring that to City Hall, and he's going to bring that to the city of Winnipeg in a way that's going to be beneficial for every single citizen in the city, not just one or two people along the way. And I know that there's a lot of people counting on you to get to that position, Mike. So, one day at a time, keep doing the right thing. And, I think, yesterday's dead and gone. Tomorrow hasn't happened yet. You live for the moment today, and this moment is almost up for us tonight.
It's bringing common sense back to City Hall. Bringing common sense in and bringing somebody who's not a politician and somebody who's an everyday person who runs a business, who's dealt with hundreds of families through their worst times, through the most devastating times. And there's going to be a lot of common sense that's going to come back. And if you want a fighter, a guy who's going to be in your corner, who's going to care about you, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it in Kyriakis' memory. And, if he could look down from heaven, I'm sure he'd be really proud. But,
one more thing before we go here, Mike. I got to ask you this quick question. Did you have to submit anything to MPI today for a hail claim or anything like that? Broken windows or any
No,
smashed out anything?
I'll tell you, we have at our crematorium in Selkirk, we have a new machine that we've been putting in, and we have the stack of that machine. The stack is probably about maybe 15,000 pounds.
Right.
And the storm in Selkirk literally pushed the stack, lifted and threw it, you know, 40 feet away.
Really?
And it ripped some of the building corners and sides down, but no major damage. But I know a lot of people have some major water damage, and some people have their buildings that have completely fallen over, basements full of water. It's been a couple really rough days in Winnipeg, and it doesn't seem to be going away. You know what I want to do before I leave, Brad? If you can, I can't see the comment section, but if we can go to some comments and maybe answer a few questions just before we leave, I think it would be important.
All right, let's do that. Let me take a look. I don't know. There's a lot of questions.
If you have a
There's
question,
lots and lots of comments, though, Mike. All
yeah,
about your brother, all about the
let's-
situation. We're so sorry to hear this, Mike. Colleen says, Debbie Lamoureux, sympathy to you and all. Michelle Ann Stangel Place says, such terrible, sad news. You're right. There comes a time in your life you start losing the people you know and love, Diane says. Jeff Hofer says, hello, Mike. Debbie Lamoureux says it has to start somewhere, right? It really does. And it starts right here with Mike Vogiatzakis. It starts with you people that are listening in tonight and have been here the whole time. And you need to help us out by bringing in more to get them involved along with us. Kathy
Tell 10 of your
Tickle
friends.
Tickle just said, I just tuned in. I'll watch the replay to hear what happened today with another loss. Don't ever let them forget Kyriakis' name, Mike. Canada first, Manitoba first. Thank you, Mike. God bless you. I pray you become the mayor. Why such a short time for taking a life? The system needs to change, says Diane Labely. Michelle said, love that. Yep, Jeff says, great times. When we were talking about your brother, excellent times, things that you remember about him and his past and his life. And Gloria calls it the Human Wrongs Museum, not rights. I kind of agree with her on that one. Monica Kaplan says, all the bands and dances. I guess she was remembering everything that went on the River Rouge. And those parties were epic, Mike, epic.
Yeah, no kidding. And Brad, I just want to do one other thing before we leave tonight, and it's on behalf of my family. And what I want to do before I end tonight is take a moment to thank the very special people that followed us, that prayed for us, that cared about us, that came down to the courts and spent time with us. Thank you to everyone who stood by our family over these last 2 years. Thank you to those who sent messages, prayers, messages of condolences, and so much. I just want to thank every single person for the love that you've given our family, the love you showed our family, the care and compassion that was brought forth by everybody. Our family will never forget it. And when a family is down and out and they're hurting, the best thing you can do is touch their hearts in a very special way. And sometimes it's offering condolences. Sometimes it's just a little tiny message of love or care. But on behalf of our families, thank you to every single person who's been by our side, who continues to support us. And you're all warriors, and we're in this for the right reason. It's because we love our loved ones, we care about our loved ones, and we want to do the best to have justice served when the time comes. And Brad, you've been another one who's been at the courts with us, and then we've done shows for a couple of years, and there's so many people that I can thank, but I don't want to miss anyone's name, so I'll just say thank you to everyone from the bottom of our hearts. I hope God blesses each one of you and your families, and continues to give you healthy and blessed lives.
100%, Mike. You're resilient. And I know that your level of dedication, commitment are strong. And I know that if we can trust on someone to get things done in this city, it's you. They make you take a leave from the funeral homes while you're in a mayoral position because you can't do both jobs. So you have to kind of stick with the one you got elected for, and you're going to run hard with that. And, that frees up a lot of time. You're not going to be at the funeral home every day. You're not going to be driving around the city having to go do the things that you did today, for example. And now you're going to take on another role if you get to be mayor. And that, I think, is where that determination, that level of, I don't know, just confidence and desire and will to win. Not win yourself, but win for the city. And a great coach never wins for himself. A great coach wins with the team. And I know that you're going to put a great team together, and you are already, but it gets stronger with every single vote you get. And every single one of those people is part of that team. And as you folks are out there looking for signage and T-shirts and bumper stickers, it's all coming real soon. And I know Mike's got it all ready to go, don't you, buddy?
We're going to have a meet and greet right away. We're going to just set up a date and a time. And I'd love to meet you at the meet and greet where you can come in and get some merchandise and, hear a speech and some of the things we're going to do. And just to get together and have the Mike for Mayor team there. And maybe you can volunteer your time helping us. This is going to take a massive team effort. It's going to take a lot of sharing. Listen, an incumbent mayor hasn't been beaten in the city for 70 years. So it's going to take a very special person to come up and beat Scott Gillingham. And as much as some people may say, wow, he's a terrible mayor, he's done terrible things for our city. I agree with you. And I agree he's made some really bad decisions. But we have to come together as a community and as a city to beat an incumbent mayor. And that's the bottom line. And we can complain about it, and we can not be happy about the decisions he made. But if we don't get out and vote, we're going to be part of the problem. Because I'm telling you now, if change doesn't happen in 2027, Winnipeg is in some big trouble.
100%.
Serious trouble. This mayor is taking you in a different direction, on a different road, down a different path than I would ever walk down.
Well, you can't say it, but the 2030 agenda is not a mystery. It's not a psyop, and it sure as heck isn't not being talked about anymore. If you don't know about it, you better get involved, and you better understand what you're facing if Mike doesn't get to be mayor, because that's a whole nother level. Yeah. All right, folks, thank you very much for being here tonight. Mike, thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy day, and just the toughest day in the world for anybody I know. And, coming on here and then spilling your guts about it is a tough thing for anyone. And, it just shows your compassion and your resiliency to make sure that people understand and people know. And it just shows your character, Mike. And I'm really proud of you for taking the time to speak with us tonight and get this out and make sure that everybody understands.
Thanks, Brad. And thank you for tuning in and supporting us and joining us. Take care of yourselves and each other. God bless you and your families. Good night.
Take care. Good night, everybody.
Good night, Brad.